Hello, everybody. This is Joshua Hatton with One Nation Under Whiskey Podcast, Single Cask Nation News Edition. I'm joined, as always, with my good partner, my friend, the dear Matthew McConaughey.
Yes, classic.
Yeah, classic, right?
All right.
Jason Neal, Patrick Harris, Johnston Yellen, calling in from what appears to be, for our viewers, if you're looking at this video, you would think Jason is telling ghost stories from his left side. It looks like you're holding a flashlight just from your left side. Normally, you hold the flashlight beneath your chin, not to the left of your face.
This is what my author photo would look like. I'm a huge fan of author photos when only half the face is lit. It's very compelling. Very.
It kind of looks like sort of like a half witness protection, half we actually know who you are kind of picture.
I am Jason from Single Cask Nation.
So where are you calling in from?
I'm in Ojai, California.
OJIA?
OJAI.
OAI.
So now you got me questioning OJAI, yes. Ojai. And as was teased in a previous episode, I was up here interviewing Christopher Sebastian of Blind Barrels. We met yesterday, hung out. He also put a blind barrel sample in front of me, and we discussed that in the interview. So it was a very good session, and that'll be coming up shortly. Regular listeners can watch out for Seabass of Blind Barrels appearing as the latest episode.
Okay. And you just put the one sample, or do listeners and have to find out when they find out?
Just the one, because it's an interview. So I didn't want to take up too much time just doing a sampling.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an interview that then leads into the discussion of a blind sample.
Okay. And you just came hot off the heels of the Peaton meeting, the 16th annual Peaton meeting.
I did. That was a great afternoon at the LA Equestrian Center. I poured our. You go to the Peaton meeting, as the name suggests. A lot of people. Lefroyg's in the room, Ardbeg's in the room. Clear Creek, actually, McCarthy's were at a table.
I saw pictures of that. Yeah.
Okay. Really cool. I made sure to take a photo, send that to our dear friend Caitlin. 10th Street were also there. And so I put an appetizer on the table, and the appetizer absolutely resonated with people.
Okay.
Our Blacksboat Bridge 12-year-old.
Oh, all right. Is unpeated even allowed? Did you break rules?
Of course, it's an appetizer. People loved it, and it was an absolute zig when others were zagging. It was so good. Blacksboat Bridge 12-year-old was on the table just as an appetizer. Then we moved into the Isle of Arran, the Locaranza Distillery peated 8-year-old, the Ardnamurchan 9-year-old peated, both of those full maturation and fresh bourbon. And then it was the Stoisha, the Bunnahabhain Stoisha, all 10 years in refill bourbon.
Yeah.
And that spirit just has such an opportunity to come to the fore and be itself. And so, all three of those crushed. And then I had a little something under the table for nation members. And I'm not going to tell you what it was. So, but it was peated and it was sherried. And I was sure to tell people it's not coming to America. So,
okay.
And as you can imagine, that was everybody's favorite of the day. So there you have it.
Man, yeah. How do you ensure a whiskey is someone's favorite? You put it under the table and you tell them they can't have it.
It's easy peasy, right? Yep. So, but no, it was really good. Got to see a bunch of faces, longtime nation members, Got to meet some new friends who were very interested in single cask. Heard of us, maybe hadn't seen us at a tasting, maybe hadn't seen me. I had to cancel my January trip to LA because of the fires, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
And so this was my July. And then I started talking to groups about coming back in November and doing back-to-back group tastings between LA and San Diego. So yeah, it was really good use of my time, really great to see people, really great to be with people tasting our product and seeing them enjoy it. And, you know, we never get tired of hearing people say, oh, I love Single Cask Nation. I love what you select. I love what you put out. What I always kind of grapple with is the number of people who think our online offerings are just where we sell the retail bottles. And I'm busy telling people, retail is retail. If you see a cask in retail, it only lives in retail. Like people saying, oh, I've had that Black Spoke Bridge. I was like, you've actually had the retail Black Spoke Bridge. This is the online singlecasknation.com Black Spoke Bridge. And oh, are they different? Yes, two different casks, right? And so just kind of reiterating that message for people and just reminding them about that is, you know, it's something we've always done, we continue to do. But people who buy everything we put into retail but never come to singlecasknation.com, or vice versa, people who only buy from singlecasknation.com and don't think about picking up a retail bottle. So so we're just telling multiple stories and letting people know multiple ways they can get their hands on Single Cask Nation. But yeah, the praise is always effusive, and it's always very much appreciated.
Very cool. I think what you said is actually the perfect segue into what we want to discuss today, right? It's almost as if you're like, pro level. It's what have you been doing this for? What, 9.5 seasons, right?
9.5 seasons. Oh, there's a movie.
Right, 9.5 weeks turned into 9.5 seasons. Okay, Kim Basinger.
I'm glad I don't have to be Mickey Rourke.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, he is not looking too great. Is he still alive?
Everyone's doing their best in this world, Joshua. Everyone's doing their best.
No, he's not doing his best.
That is his best.
Oh my gosh. Whew, rough stuff. Mickey, we love you. Great actor. Whew. All right. So listen, it's really exciting. We have 8 new bottlings coming in our retail range, our retail bottling, our 13th retail release. Oof, had a tough time getting that out of my mouth. So 8 new bottlings for our retail range. And then we mentioned it in email. We've got 3 bottlings coming out in August that are online exclusives. So to your point, there are bottlings that we release for retail and bottlings that we release as online exclusives. And then we have fireworks, as our viewers will see. We release fireworks when we talk about this. And for our listeners, again, this is a reminder. You're just hearing our podcast. This is your opportunity. Go to YouTube /@SingleCastNation. You can watch our podcast. You can look at Jason's beautiful ghost story face here.
That's why I have to put in the fireworks. You got to give the viewers even more.
Right. And then when they subscribe, you know what happens? It's like confetti. It's party time, right? Like sometimes you just like, woo, party balloons. Oh, it didn't happen. Anyway. All right. So let's go over first, Jason, if you don't mind. Let's go over our 8 different retail bottlings, some of which are going to be distilleries we've bottled for the first time ever. And then we'll go over our online exclusives. And just for our viewers over here, not for our listeners because they can't see us, but for our viewers, I have a second screen over here that just has my list. I'm going to be looking over to my left here. So if you see me looking away, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just looking at my list here because there's 8 of them. The first one that I want to discuss is our Aberfeldy 10-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And, normally when we release a cask of whiskey and we talk about whiskeys that have been finished in a secondary cask, right? The secondary cask is usually a sherry cask or a Madeira cask or some sort of cask that held a wine of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
This secondary cask is a second fill bourbon barrel for 2 years. And what I remember about this cask when we selected it is it had that classic Aberfeldy sort of chamomile tea note, right? That floral, elegant sort of quality to it. But then the ripe, juicy fruits coming through. And if we're being very honest, you and I did not do the finishing of this cask, right? We received this cask as it was. And part of me thinks that it was finished in the secondary second fill bourbon cask really to stop or slow down the maturation.
Yeah. That would be the normal use of that second fill.
Right? Yeah, because Aberfeldy is a bit softer. It's a bit more delicate, elegant spirit. And you don't want that oak flooding the spirit, if you will, right?
Yeah, Aberfeldy cracking spirit as well. And I think we've had success putting that in front of the nation previously.
Yeah.
It's a well-known, well-regarded distillery. So yeah, very happy to represent that. Looking forward to getting out and doing some tastings with it.
So 60.5% alcohol on this one. It's a 10-year-old. And I wanna preface the rest of this episode with this, not a motto, that's not the term, but sort of our plan moving forward. And we've mentioned this many times, is our aim is to get back to this old school way of independently bottling whiskey, where we target this $10 per year, where this is a this is a 10-year-old Aberfeldy, so this should sit on store shelves for $100. Might be a little less, it might be a little more, right, depending on the state.
Yeah, did this land before the Trump tariffs went into effect?
So this will land afterwards. However, I'm really proud to say that we're working hand in hand with our importers, Impex Beverages, to absorb the tariffs so that we're not passing on any of the price increases to the consumer. So despite the 10% tariffs on Scotch whiskey, our consumers will not see the increase. That's something that I'm really proud to say, and really thankful to our partners at Impex that we're bearing the brunt of this. Our consumers aren't going to see this. So there you go. So yeah, I mean, so you're going to see that spring floral like note with this Aberfeldy, but pineapple, peach rings, fruit candies, and then that unctuous quality, right? That heft, that spirit heft.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Right. Bottling number 2, and I'm sort of going in alphabetical order here. Not sort of. I'm totally going in alphabetical order here.
It's smart. We also have a lot of ABCs, so no better way to go through it.
Can I ask you a question?
Always.
Going into primary school, and you were taught the ABCs over in Scotland. Did you have to learn your ABCs like through the song? Did you have the song?
Oh, probably not. we were very draconian. you just learn the letters. Just sit down, shut the hell up, learn letters.
All right.
That was our song.
I still can't do the alphabet without singing it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I'm a 51-year-old man singing the ABCs. Yeah, it's just a thing, man.
That's a takeaway. Where's this taking us? You're just having a trip down memory lane.
I am. This is taking us to our very first Balblair ever bottled. 17-year-old Balblair matured its first 14 years in bourbon and its final 3 years in American Oak PX sherry.
Yeah, I will quite happily say we have wanted to bottle Balblair since 2011 when Single Cask Nation was established. We are big fans of Balblair, lives within the Inverhouse family. I visited it way back, I think in 2009 when I did the Inverhouse trip with a few other bloggers. Had a hell of a time. And Balblair, John Campbell at Balblair is a distillery manager so committed to the spirit. We often talk about Ian McAllister down at Glen Scotia, the way he thinks about the distillery, the way he thinks about the spirit, the way he thinks about the community. All of that is true of John Campbell. At John Campbell. Now that I've said it a second time, I'm not sure I've got the name right. John, I feel like that might be right. Let's assume it's right. Let's just move on with confidence, right?
Well, I know that for a while...
That was John McDonald, I bet you.
I know that for a while, Jeepers Creepers, Malcolm Waring looked after Balblair.
Oh, okay.
Then,
it's John McDonald. Once I started saying
McDonald.
Campbell a second, I was like, that definitely doesn't sound right.
It's your love of... It's your love of Lefroy, right? It's your love of Lefroy. You just want to go straight to...
It's just my straight up love of John Campbell.
It's your man
John
crush.
McDonald at Balblair, to me, represents everything that Ian McAllister represents at Glen Scotia, and is deeply committed. And John Campbell has been at that distillery. See, I did it again. John McDonald has been at that distillery. Maybe it's like autocomplete in my brain. Like if I say a John in the whiskey industry, Campbell automatically follows. John McDonald,
John, right?
John McDonald has been with Balblair since at least 2009 when we did the tour up there. So that's a good amount of time to be in charge of a spirit. What's our distillation year on this 17-year-old? Is it just from before that time?
Yeah, so it is, right? So this is February 2008.
There you go. So about 18 months. So this was 18 months old when I visited the distillery with that other group of bloggers. James Saxon.
Now it's bottled as a 17-year-old.
Yeah, that's really cool. 18 years sitting there.
Yeah. And sorry, what about James Saxon?
And James Saxon was part of that group when we visited in 2009.
Of Compass Box. There you go.
Think of all the things James has gone on to accomplish.
There you go.
Yeah, 2009, we were all just babes, just creating our ways in the whiskey world.
Amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, to your point, right? We've been wanting to bottle Balblair since our beginnings of 2011. Balblair, when it comes to independent bottling, that it's hen's teeth. You just don't find casks of Balblair from brokers.
Inverhouse have not been selling because we asked early and often.
So
just like I was trying to get our hands on Knockdo, right? Also within Inverhouse. Balmenic within Inverhouse, right? The Balmenic bunch represent.
Whoop, whoop. So huge tropical fruits. This is what Balblair is known for. Big tropical fruits. And then you've got the PX maturation that's on top of it. And you would think you're throwing fruit upon fruit, but it actually rounds it out. It actually pulls it all together. This doesn't become cloyingly sweet. It actually, much like the dude's rug, I think it ties it all together.
Yep. No, I had that conversation over the weekend with Bino, longtime Nation supporter. Really appreciate Bino. And he really likes sweet. And there was a dram that we were sharing that he really, really dug. And I said, honestly, it's a bit too sweet for me. And so I think when it comes to you and I selecting casks for US retail here, we're not going to go with cloying sweet. We're going to have spirit plus wood plus fruit. It's all going to have to work together. And this Balblair is primo, absolute primo.
Has to balance, right? Has to balance.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to, here we go. I mean, this next one is a distillery that I had banged on about for years, and you were hesitant. And then I finally brought you in, and now you bang on about it
I
along
do
with
indeed.
us, right? And this is our Ben Nevis 10-year-old. This one was 5.5 years in bourbon, and then 4.5 years in first fill Spanish oak Oloroso.
That's good. That tells a good story.
Yeah.
I like that. I think when we've been discussing this through 2025, but I think with our selections, we're looking for either full maturation or a double maturation, like a meaningful double maturation. I know that Aberfeldy is sitting 2 years in the second fill. Getting into 5.5 years maturation, first maturation with 4.5 years second maturation, we're really building a full story there.
Yeah.
It takes me back to our early days where we did the Glen Murray or we did the Arran. Like, we're looking for real numbers attached to these. And what's that spirit really grown into in its time in that second cask? So I think this Ben Nevis really encapsulates what we've been trying to achieve for a decade and a half.
Yeah. I was doing a tasting at Prime Tobacconist here in Connecticut, in Milford, Connecticut, and I was asked the question, how do you approach your finishing program? When is that cask done? Is it 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever? And the short answer is when it's ready, right? When the flavors have melded together, and sometimes it's 6 months, like our 28-year-old Canvas, where the flavors of that muscatel sherry just worked. Sometimes it's 4.5 years with this Ben Nevis, and you've got that natural funky sort of style of Ben Nevis coming through, right, with their brewer's yeast, and you got this really sort of dank quality. But then the Spanish oak Oloroso brings in this, like, this is our chocolate bomb. This is German chocolate cake coming through. Do you remember that note? Like, it was toasted coconut and chocolate fudge, and it was just
Yeah, this is a Ben Nevis lover's Ben Nevis. Like, I think this is really well put together, and I think it will make Ben Nevis lovers very happy. And if, like me from back in the day, if you don't know Ben Nevis, you don't like Ben Nevis, try this one. I think this one will really resonate.
Yeah, I think the answer is, like, if you don't like Ben Nevis, A, you're wrong, and B, this bottling will prove you wrong, and you can discover that you love Ben Nevis. So 61.6% on that one, and again, 10 years old, $100 on that one. The Balblair 17-year-old, $170 on that one, and again, we're working with Impex Beverages on that to absorb those 10% tariffs that have unfortunately been imposed on Scotch whiskey. So we're really, really proud to have worked on that. Anyway, moving on. We're still in the bees, but now we're on with a worm tub distillery. Jason, what distillery are we on to now?
Benrinnes.
Benrinnes. This is our 12-year-old, and this is one that you and I selected really with our bourbon lovers in mind. And, you know, we live in this world, you and I live in this world of we're very Scotch-centric. And here in America, bourbon is king, and bourbon will remain king because it's our national drink. But we always want to bring the bourbon lovers into the fold.
Always.
And so with this one, we have, let me look at it. Yeah, right. With this one, this was 9 years in bourbon, but then 3 years in new charred oak, heavy toast, medium char oak. So you've got the weightiness of spirit in worm tubs, and right, you think about bourbon, right? Bourbon is a weightier spirit because you've got corn in the mash bill, and corn tends to be weightier just simply due to the grain. So you've got a weightier spirit, and then you've got that new charred oak, which simply due to the nature of bourbon, a lot of the flavor comes through due to new charred oak. So you're getting a lot of that caramel, coconut, vanilla coming through on this one. So it's, I mean, did you find it to be like a bridge between those two worlds?
For sure. And I think we've put out some other new charred oak offerings, both in the US and in Jesse's global markets. And I think we've done really well with the new charred oak. And I think we've used it in a careful way to once again add on to a story, not derail a story. Yeah. And I absolutely, I agree with you. The door is wide open for bourbon drinkers to come in and experience a Benrinnes in new charred oak. I think they will find it somewhat familiar, and then also breaking new ground on it as well with that 100% single malt or that 100% malted barley. So yeah, I think it's an all-around winner. I think that's going to do really well as we get it into mouths. That's the important thing, right?
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
We do our best to sell it through podcasts and through truncated label notes and through flavometers. Tasting it is really the ultimate judge of that liquid. So 100%. Hopefully we'll get a chance to go out and pour that for people as well.
Yep. And I think it's just for our bourbon drinkers who are watching, who are listening to this. I think their fear about Scotch whiskey tends to be they've been told, or it's been ingrained into them that Scotch whiskey equals smoke.
Yeah, it's wild to me.
Right?
It's wild.
And most Scotch whiskey distilleries do not produce a smoky whiskey. True, a lot of Scotch whiskey blends have a PD component to them, and the majority of Scotch whiskey out there being sold are blends, but we deal in single malt. And Benrinnes Distillery is known for producing a really rich, fruity style of whiskey. Our good friend Graham Usher from Canada, this is his favorite distillery because it's so rich and fruity. And then so you got that big fruity characteristic, the heavy weighty spirit because it's a worm tub distillery, and then the new charred oak cask, right?
Yeah.
Put those components together, and you
couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Well said, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ooh, I'm gonna file that away
every day, and you have it on wax.
I'm gonna use that later. Bring myself to completion. All right.
It's your new ringtone.
That is my. So now we're going to stay in the bees, and we're going to talk about my good friend Blair, who's an athole. He has a big athole. There's the Blair Athole Distillery, owned by Diageo. So they don't really have their own bottling. You can find sort of the floral and fauna series, but most of their whiskeys go into blend. Our bottling here is an 11-year-old. This one I really, really enjoy because this one is going to zag where Blair Athol tends to zig when you do find Blair Athol in its own bottling. 11 years old, first 6.5 years. Please correct me if I have that math wrong. First 6.5 years in bourbon. Final 4.5 years in a refill toasted French oak barrique.
I think one thing I would say about Blair Athol is it takes wine cask, whether sherry or other. It takes wine cask really well to be able to see French oak there and start to think about what that spice may bring to the Blair Athol spirit. We've been longtime fans of Blair Athol, and while yes, I'd have to check the notes, we've done maybe one Blair Athol, maybe. I don't know if I want to go as high as 2.
Did we do two? We definitely did one. We did the
Right,
10-year-old and PX sherry, refill
right,
PX,
right,
for sure.
right. And so I think Blair Athol is definitely a distillery we stand behind. It's also
Oh,
very
yeah.
pretty. It's also not that hard to get to from Glasgow or from Edinburgh, up at Pitlochry. It's worth a visit. It's worth a wander round. But it's also a pretty exciting one to put in front of people, for what I'm saying a second ago, because of how it takes to secondary maturation. And so, yeah, French oak. We haven't done a lot with French oak.
No, the French oak that we've usually used has held wine before. Where in this case, this hasn't held wine. This has just simply been toasted French oak. And where in the case of the previous cast, we talked about the Benrinnes, where it was new charred oak, that was new charred white oak. And white oak does caramel, vanilla, citrus, coconut. French oak is spice, right?
Cinnamon.
Right, cinnamon. And, if we, like, for our listeners out there who might be Ardbeg fans who enjoy Corryvreckan, that spicy component in Corryvreckan that you get, that's toasted French oak. That's where your spice is coming from. So if in this case, Blair Athol is not peated, but if you can sort of pull that spicy note out of Corryvreckan, you're going to find that spice here in the Blair Athol. And yeah, I think it's quite nice, and it doesn't overtake the Blair Athol spirit. Yeah, go ahead.
No, and that's definitely a component for us, and I definitely say that in all of my tastings is we're not looking for the wood to become the only note in a whiskey. It needs to have a distillery characteristic running through it. It still has to be recognizable, even if it's altering the tail a little bit. TALE for my author's photo here. It's an evolution of an idea. It's not a reconstitution of a flavor profile. I think that's important to say.
With that in mind, let me read our just little note on here, because I think that's important. I think what you said can be applied to all of our bottlings, because with every whiskey that we bottle, it's important to us that we retain the distillery's spirit character that is never flooded by a secondary cask or even a primary cask, right? If it's first fill sherry from its very origins or first fill bourbon for a lighter spirit character, right? We never want to flood that spirit character with a cask.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
I'm just going to read this really quickly. It says, a powerhouse distillery of malt whiskey for a number of blends, Blair Athol is known for its strong malty presence with soft, sweet tones. Our use of toasted French oak adds layers of rich and warming desserts, poached fruits, and a pleasing, warm honey elegance. It adds to it. It doesn't cover it up. It just adds to it. That's the aim.
Yep. No, go look for Blair Athol. What age again did you say on that? 11?
So it's an 11-year-old on this one. And I love the color on this one, which is sort of an unusual green tea. So it's a really unusual color on this whiskey, where normally we're getting copper tones or bourbony color notes or gold notes. This has a greenish hue to it, which is somewhat unexplainable at times when you get those sort of green tints. I like that.
Yeah, I remember sometimes writing green flecked gold for some other things. Breaking news from the Balblair distillery that we were talking about a moment ago, and I will try to get the name consistently correct. As of May of last year.
Is this really breaking news? Breaking news. What happened last year?
John MacDonald retired from the Balblair distillery after 18 years. And so
Oh,
his successor, who clearly we have not met, is David Rogerson. So I just wanted to be clear before anybody felt the need to email and say, do you know that John MacDonald actually retired? That's why it's breaking news. We've gone from singing the praises of John MacDonald to now announcing he has retired as of May 2024.
Also, in breaking news, John Campbell has never worked at the Balblair distillery.
In further breaking news, John Campbell has left Lafroig.
Oh, we laugh.
Isn't it good to have a podcast? Number of people that say, I learn something new every time I listen to your podcast. Sometimes they say podcast. And so anybody listening today learning like us, John MacDonald has retired from Balblair as of May 2024.
Retired. There you go. I hope he's enjoying his retirement.
I hope so too.
Yeah, there you go. Hopefully he went away with some nice bottles of Balblair as well.
I'll keep my envy to a minimum.
All right, now we're getting into the peated realm, and actually this is our only peated offering for this particular retail release. And this is our 15-year-old Kalila. It spent all 15 years in a refill bourbon hogshead, 57% alcohol, 57% on the dot.
Yep.
And this is another instance where I want to read the sort of note that we have on our little sheet here, because I've been saying this over and over and over again, and I think it bears repeating, and it bears being recorded. This is perhaps one of the most expressive ex-bourbon casks of Kalila we've experienced to date. Sometimes their whiskeys are coastal, sometimes they're citrusy. Occasionally, they're like chocolate and tobacco, and sometimes like grilled summer seafood on the pier. This cask is all of that in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
It's I remember tasting this with you, and it was just like being hit from all sides.
Yeah. I think people make a mistake in overlooking Kalila because it's the most independently bottled Islay whiskey. And I don't think it has the reputation it deserves, the reputation of a Lagavulin, of an Ardbeg, of a Lafroig, of a Bowmore. And I think it's a cracking distillery. And I think it presents quite a sophisticated Islay whiskey that, as we're describing with this version of it, can move in a number of different directions. And so, yeah, I think people sleeping on Kalila is a mistake. I'll also bring up what you and I were talking about before we hit record. But I was talking to, again, longtime Nation member Josh Hodis in LA the other day. And he passionately loves refill bourbon casks. And he loves the spirit having a chance to shine through.
Yeah.
And just as we're talking today about, here's a cask that does this, and here's a cask that does that, and here's the addition to the Blair Athol from the French oak. Here's an example where all of that wood takes a step back and just lets the spirit come to the fore. And then 15 years worth of that. So, yeah, I'm always proud of the Kalila we put out into the world. And this one is no exception. And I think might be one of the best we've put out into the world.
Agreed. And they're consistently good. This one is just, it's just doing so much. So yeah, 15 years old, all in refill bourbon. Fill your boots. Yeah.
And in further breaking news, since the 1970s, Kalila has had to be rebuilt. So, fire in the 70s, it got rebuilt. That breaking news, delivered by One Nation Under Whiskey today.
There you go, man. Whew. Where would we be without you, Jason?
There you go. There you go. People are learning. That's why I'm here.
All right, we're about to announce the penultimate, right? The second to last whiskey in retail release 13. And I should point out, I don't know if I mentioned this on the outset. This retail release is just hit the dock here in the States, right? Everything is imported into the West Coast, into Northern California, into San Francisco. So it hits our importers, Impex Beverages, that's our importer. And it then gets disseminated into the US. So while it hits San Francisco, it'll start hitting stores in and around California, and will slowly start to hit store shelves. Here we are. It is, Wednesday, July 16th. So start looking at store shelves. July, August, September. Go to your favorite shops. Ask for these bottles. If you need help looking for bottles, you can always reach out to us, info@singlecastnation.com. You could reach out to office@impexbev.com. They can help you as well.
They're very good at getting back to people as well.
Very good. They're almost better than we are, Jason.
I don't disagree.
All right. Here's something really exciting. And I'm trying to think if this was the first that we bottled from them, at least the first that we bottled from this distillery in the States. And this is a 17-year-old Manachmore. And this is, here we go again. I'm doing math. 13 and a half years. Oh, you're going to love this, Jason. I mean, I know you're going to love this because we selected this cast together. So you're going to love this, listeners and viewers. 13 and a half years in bourbon. And then this is going to be very interesting. 3.5 years in recharred. Sorry, let me do this again. 3.5 years in refill, recharred red wine barrique.
Yeah.
Not STR, but recharred red wine barrique. So no shaving, no retoasting, just recharred. So all that wine is still in the wood, just getting recharred. All of that wine, the wine sugar is being crystallized and held in that wood. And then the spirit being put into that cask, all the sweetness coming through. What I loved about this one, Jason, and please chime in after this, what your experience was. But for me, this was strawberry rhubarb pie in a bottle with salinity. Just fucking massive.
I'm going to be controversial.
All right. Oh, hold on. Let me strap in.
I'm going to say, if you or I saw this bottle on a shelf, we would walk on by. Because traditionally, you and I have talked about red wine not being up our alley. We've talked about it sometimes sitting like oil and water, or sometimes it's too winey. And I think this is when people come to trust the palates of Single Cask Nation. Cask description aside, this is incredible whiskey. This is delicious whiskey. This is rich and sweet, and it's a word we use in another release, but beguiling, and it's well worth visiting. And I say that as somebody with a partner who doesn't talk about red wine a lot, but that recharred action just turns this into, like, I think we talked about jam and compote a lot when we were tasting this and selecting this.
Correct.
That's what we like. That's what we go for. And this isn't the only recharred red wine cask that we fell in love with during a round of selections. And so, very much to the point here, we're going to bottle that because we love the flavors. We're not going to let our biases get in the way, and we're not going to shy away from things that we may ordinarily think we don't like.
Mm-hmm.
We're giving it a taste. We're judging the whiskey. That's what we're presenting to the nation. And we 100% stand behind this Mannockmore as something incredibly delicious. And I think it'll go over very well with people who like the richer, the sweeter, but take note there, that strawberry rhubarb, right? Rhubarb always grounds strawberry, right?
Correct.
Doesn't let the sweetness run away with it. And I think this cask sits in good balance. So yeah, there you go. That was controversial, just in being honest about our biases, but 100% loving this cask and really loving Mannockmore. It's a good distillery, worth discovering. We'll bottle more from them.
Oh, agreed wholeheartedly. I could not have said it any better. And the only thing I'll add is I love that we're challenging ourselves with these samples, right? Normally we would say, we don't even want to try those, but we said, let's see what happens.
Exactly.
Right? So, yeah, cheers. All right, and 53% on that one. Slightly lower ABV on that one. All right. Okay, here we go. This is the final. And, Jason, another second fill. This one's second fill. The Mannockmore was a refill recharred red wine barrique. This one that I'm about to talk about, this is our Teaninich 15-year-old. This is a second fill recharred red wine barrique. This was 11 years in bourbon and then 4 years in that secondary cask.
There you go.
Right? And so you've got that Teaninich, which is sort of that more grassy style, more gentler yet grassy style of whiskey. But then you've got the sweetness of that recharred red wine coming through on this one.
Yeah, and Teaninich definitely a powerhouse producer for blends. And so one of those opportunities to get to see a whiskey, experience a whiskey that isn't normally out there. Teaninich is in the top 10 of production in the UK or in Scotland, in the Scotch whiskey industry. It's up there in the top 10. It may even be in the top 5. Honestly, I haven't checked the numbers in the last couple of years, but it's way up there. Major powerhouse. But as we're always saying to people, there's a reason it's a powerhouse. There's a reason it's still worth experiencing. There's a reason it's still well worth tasting and sharing with friends. So yeah, a 15-year-old Teaninich, that's a good offering to have for folk. And gosh, I can't believe we've got back-to-back recharred red wine.
Yeah. And I would argue, too, just one last comment on the Teaninich. A few years back, Ben Nevis became this distillery that people started to discover, right? People discovered them, started to seek them out. And then Dalhuin became a darling distillery. More independent bottlers were releasing them. They became huge with our nation members, our cask heads, if you will. And we're starting to see more and more Teaninich being bottled, not just by us, but with other independent bottlers as well. And we're getting more requests for it. And so I think Teaninich is going to be yet another sort of darling distillery that people have they've gotten their eyes opened to it. It's this style that's unexpected, and they say, "Ooh, some interesting things are happening here." So we want to highlight that. We want to put it in front of people.
I think it suffers from the same problem as Dalhuin, which is when you first see it, you don't quite know where to begin pronouncing it. And we spent a lot of time letting people know Dalhuin. Not tricky when you know this. Teaninich, right? It's easy when you know, but I've got so many people coming up at festivals or tastings and pointing like, I'll try that one. how? Oh, the Dalyuen. Oh, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Oh, the Tianinic. Oh, that's how you pronounce it. Yes.
Yeah.
So I do sometimes worry that people take a step back on a distillery when they can't regularly pronounce the name. So
Exactly.
as we're here for education, Tianinic. Simple as that.
There you go. So 15 years on that. So just run through it really quickly. 10-year-old Aberfeldy in second fill bourbon barrel. 17-year-old Balblair in first fill American Oak PX. Those are the finishing casks. 10-year-old Ben Nevis in first fill Spanish Oak Oloroso. 12-year-old Benrinnes, first fill New Charred Oak. 11-year-old Blair Athol, 4.5 years in a refill toasted French Oak Barrique. 15-year-old Kalila, all 15 years in a refill bourbon hogshead. 17-year-old Manickmore, refill recharred red wine barrique. Say that 3 times real fast. And then 15-year-old Tianinic in a second fill recharred red wine barrique. That is a retail release 13-year-old. Retail release. That is, oh my gosh, Jason, get the words out my mouth. That is our 13th retail release for U.S. store shelves. Whew.
Thank you. Yeah, excited to get those on shelves, excited to taste them with people, excited to hear feedback from the nation, as always. Yeah, see how some of those different flavors resonate with people, hear where people get surprised, hear what was gifted. Yeah, it's all very exciting, very exciting.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, we promised people we were going to talk about our August releases of our American whiskeys, and I was hoping that you could share the 3 bottlings that we've got coming up.
Yeah, I'm going to take the first 2 because I want you to put a few leaves on a branch. So I've got some leaves to put on the first couple. So we're going to have a New York distilling rye, distilled in 2014. So bottled as an 11-year-old. We might have to check notes on that. So it's had a birthday in the time.
It'll be 11 in October. If we were to bottle this in October, it'd be 11.
Okay. I'm looking at an old AYS on this one here. So, okay, so we got good 10-year-old New York distilling rye. I remember tasting this sample and reaching out to you and saying there's a bit of a Nicolas Cage sample here. This is an excellent rye, good spice. Definitely grabs you by the lugs and shakes you and gives you a whoa in a Nicolas Cage fashion. And so really excited to put that into the world. That is a New Charred Oak on that one. And then we've got a peated Balcones. That's also October of its year. It's October 2020 on that one. And so this, I tasted the sample, and this was so mezcal-like, so vegetal, so crisp. First fill bourbon barrel maturation on it, but it's the peat that does the talking. Really well put together Balcones. Definitely one for the peat lovers. Peated single malt, absolutely for the win. And then as that's me waxing lyrical on my experience of those 2, you, sir, had the Clear Creek project. And you've got a sample there that turned your head. Yeah,
correct. This is a little sample that we selected this cask from. And so it's a 5-year-old. I spent the first 3 years in bourbon and the final 2 years in a first fill Sauterne cask. So peated American single malt. and you've got that interplay between the peat and the sauterne, and anybody who's heard me talk about Kilchoman, and you've heard me talk about it plenty, my favorite Kilchoman to date remains Kilchoman and sauterne. That interplay between smoke and the nuttiness and the fresh apricot notes that come through from sauterne cask maturation just is gorgeous, and it comes through in spades on this Cedar Ridge, and I'm so thankful to be turned on to this distillery. It was last year it was last year I went over to Michael Nolan's house in Chicago, and he was having a dinner, and he had a bunch of people over, and it was our good friend Gil Matar who had a bottle of Cedar Ridge, a quintessential. It was a cask they selected, and it was matured in a Merlot cask. And here we are. And he said, "Oh, you've got to give this a go." And I said, Merlot cask, like, how I feel about, whiskey's matured in red wine. He said, "Please just give it a go and stop being such a curmudgeon about the red wine." And I tasted it, and what the whiskey did is it did what I want all new to me whiskeys to do. It opened my eyes. It presented flavors that I had never experienced before. And It was that one bottle that said, oh my gosh, because I'd never had Cedar Ridge until that day. And it was Gil that actually connected us to Cedar Ridge and got us, connected to Murphy Quint, at Cedar Ridge. And that's awesome. How the relationship started. So here we are. Here's the cool thing about the industry is it's a small, tight-knit community that, you got to know a person to get an in. But it's so cool that sometimes an enthusiast can give you that in, that even just a whiskey lover can. And here we are, a longtime nation member, a longtime friend is a part of this process. That's what continues to drive Single Cask Nation for me. That's what makes this so goddamn cool.
Yep. I had this experience on Friday night, again, sitting over at Bino's house at a little tasting organized by Andy Smith of LA Scotch Club. And we're going around the table making introductions. Every single person talked about joining a community when they first fell in love with whiskey. The whiskey's fantastic. There's a love of whiskey. There's a passion for whiskey. There's learning about distilleries and the people at those distilleries. There's also the people you drink with and you hang out with and you talk to and with about the whiskies. Every last person mentioned community. That's what we're doing, right? That's why it's nation.
Yeah. Indeed. Spot on right there. So
there we go. They're flashing. I got a check out of my my ghostly hotel.
Okay. All right. So those three whiskeys, the New York Distilling Rye 10-year-old, the Balcones peated malt 4-year-old first fill bourbon, and then the Cedar Ridge 5-year-old Sauterne cask, all being released in early August. Viewers, listeners, we'll be announcing that if you're a nation member, that'll come into your inbox. That will also be discussed in our Facebook group page. If you are not a nation member, if you're not a cask head, go to singlecasknation.com, sign up, get onto our mailing list, get up to date on what we are doing, please. If you have any questions, please reach out to us, info@singlecasknation.com. Our questions at onenationunderwhiskey.com. That is almost settled. We're on the cusp, Jason. But anyway, info@singlecasknation.com. Send us emails. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. tap the little bell below to be reminded of new episodes. And Jason, all I can do is say thank you.
Thank
you for
you.
joining. Yeah.
And thanks as always to the nation, listeners and viewers and imbibers, supporters, sharers, ambassadors. Appreciate you all. I toast you.
Yes. And to our distillery partners,
Water bottle.
our importers. Yeah. And I'll toast to you with my favorite coffee mug. Cheers.
Cheers.